Hey
Okay.
guys, so how are you? I hope you are having a great time here with us. We are in the middle of the conference for today, and we have here Adam Bien, who will talk about the world and the universe of Java. It's such a pleasure for us having you here, Adam. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and please share with us all your knowledge, and we will be very grateful. Guys, if you want me to interrupt and do some questions to Adam, please do it, because Adam likes it very much, and it will be it will be a pleasure for him to answer your questions. Okay, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I had to accept actually the invitation because I had a nice podcast with you, Porto Tech Hub, called Voice to Tech, and we had 1 hour conversation. So after the podcast, we covered lots of ground. I decided to even extend the agenda. So I reworked, I rethought the presentation and see how it goes. And please ask questions in the chat, and Luis will interrupt me immediately. And this is what I like, because I would like to have the questions answered right away. And at the end, it's a little bit boring, but we can still do it. No problem. So now, Luis, a question to you. How bien or bean would be pronounced in Portuguese? My last name.
I think it will be bien.
Bien. Okay. Interesting. German, it is Bean, because, and this is actually fun because it's like the Mr. Bean, there's like, the English, a nice person. So, okay, now let's go. Let's talk about, so what I did. So I planned just to talk about infrastructure as code with Java. Why with Java? Because I'm a Java developer, but after the talk, voice to tag, so you have to go to YouTube and listen to it. I decided actually I can show you more than only that. And so about me, I still have fun with Java. In all my backend projects, I use Java to 110%. So I never use something else. Maybe, sometimes I use a little bit shell scripting, but not for production, just for provisioning. But usually Java is everywhere. And at the front end, I'm using just plain JavaScript web components ES6. So this is what I'm doing. And yeah, I'm working as a consultant now, how my daily work looks like. I help companies coding, code reviews, prototyping, and now I have some, firefighting projects or whatever related to production Java and larger projects. Okay. Oh, larger, no more true. So actually, I'm helping a lots of startups, smaller companies as well. So now, what I'm also doing for fun, a podcast, AWS FM, and AWS Live workshops once or twice a year, depends on my time. Okay. So there are some workshops around the corner, and they are somehow related. The first one, in both workshops, I would use infrastructure as code, but the first one would go a little bit deeper, and the second one would just use the CDK. So it is December, so it's around the corner. So any questions left? So go to AWS TV once a month. I answer all the questions, and this for free. You don't even have to register. Just ask something on GitHub gist, and I will answer this in 1 hour. So infrastructure as code. So I just copied it over from Wikipedia, because how this actually works. I think you all are Java developers, so it's easy to explain. So all clients I know are basically a set of REST APIs waiting to be invoked. So we are interacting with the clouds via REST, and I'm not talking about the production workloads, like talking to Postgres database. This is not via REST. So whatever Postgres is using, you would also use it for the management of the cloud. Everything is exposed via REST. And regardless whether you're using the console, where runs somewhere here, this is the console on AWS, or you're using the command line interface, or what I showed you today, always the REST API is involved. So now, long story short, if you have no REST APIs, we could use something like a Postman and automate the entire thing, which actually works. The problem with that is, if someone mentions infrastructure as code, it also would like to have the entire thing declaratively, and not, like what we do in Java. We just would create, the cloud by saying, I would have to one virtual machine, or not one. This is also already, wrong explanation. Create me a virtual machine, or create me a Lambda function. What you would like to say is, I would like to have one Lambda function and keep it this way. And so this is defining. So the first fact is we have REST APIs. And the second thing is we would like to have declarative APIs, and declarative for a reason is a way more convenient. Otherwise, you will spend up all your time in if-else statements. When the machine doesn't exist, then create it, and if it exists, do nothing. And with declarative approach, you only declare and you forget about if-else statements. So this is the main pragmatic reason why declarative is good for Java programmers. And I'm a Java developer, and so I mean, maybe it's also true for JavaScript developers, right? So now, so what we need a tool which remembers what we did and does it again. So why? So the first problem we get immediately is if you, I guess most of you already used Hibernate, JPA, or something similar. So there's exactly the same problem in infrastructure as code. What is the problem? Just imagine you have a complex graph of JPA entities in the cache, and you are deleting, in the cache, one object, one link. So what should happen, right? So you would expect that the server would also delete just one link, right? But if you send the entire graph to the server only sees the graph and has no idea what you actually did. So what the server could do is say, okay, I delete everything else, right, and keep just your state as the how to call it, the master state. And I don't know whether it is clear. I mean, if you work with JPA and try to have how to call it a transparent persistent, you will immediately get the problem. If you didn't work with that, I would try to explain you differently. In infrastructure as code, if you create a, let's say, a S3 bucket or a Lambda function, you did it from your machine, but it doesn't prevent anyone else to create another Lambda without IaC, right? So now your IaC has to be stateful, has to remember the state, because if you say delete everything, it doesn't mean delete everything. It means delete everything what I created and not the others created. So this is the main problem. So what it means is infrastructure as code, the main challenge is you have to keep the state somewhere and share the state with your team members. Okay, I hope the problem is clear. There are no questions. Luis didn't interrupt me. So I mean, you are, bright guys from Portugal, so there will be no further questions, I guess.
No, but I do have one.
Well, very good.
So from what I heard, and I work with the developers that program in C++ and Python, why do you love, and I wanted to understand, why do you love so much Java as a program language, and why do you use it so much?
Very good. But this is an easy one. I mean, C++, I was able to introduce Java in 1997, just to saying, you don't have to care about, the memory, how to call it, maintenance of the pointers and all the stuff. And I got immediately the project. So Java, as I would say, is easier than C++. And with Java Hotspot, it is a way faster than C++, if you're not a C++ guru. For mainstream applications, if you just implement basic business logic, I would say Java is unbeatable. Now, Python is harder because there are lots of people who really like Python. There's the Pythonic way of development stuff, but Java is still a little bit more popular than Python. So the ecosystem is huge. And now it comes, what I showed you today, the Lambda functions. You will save money with Java because Java will run faster as at AWS Lambda than Python or JavaScript. If I mention this, Java wins in the public clouds. If this would be, on-premise, I wouldn't care. If you're a Python developer, go for it. In public cloud, you can save money. And I would say I delivered several talks already about course-driven architectures, and I have to argue with the managers all the time. If I mention we are going to run cheaper with Java, we get Java. So this is, the pragmatic answer. But I see the point with Python. Python is great. And by the way, you can even have both. You can even make Python run faster on Java with GraalVM. If you like Python, take a look at GraalVM. You can execute Python inside a GraalVM. Louis, the best moderator ever. So this is he asks questions, and the attendees are the laziest ever. So now, what I would like to explain you now, I stolen this picture from Amazon. What we would do today in the background is use CloudFormation without knowing it. But the cool story, the killer feature of the entire thing is what CloudFormation does from day one. It stores the entire state in S3 bucket on Amazon. So the problem with the state is solved. If you would use something like Terraform, it is actually your decision where to store the state. And in all projects, I know multi-developers project is always a great, conversation where to store the state, or buy, enterprise edition of Terraform. Then it also will save the problem for you. But if you would like, to keep the state in Terraform somewhere, usually you will start with having the TF state file in your local folder, and the others developers won't get, your state. So you couldn't work in a team. And CloudFormation solves it from day one, because the first thing it happens, it creates an S3 bucket with the entire state, and you can, you can go to the console and just delete the stack. Okay. CloudFormation is a JSON or YAML, so you could write that, but we are the Java developers, so I would show you today something else. So, and what happens is, I would like to show you the official AWS way called CDK Cloud Development Kit, and there are several programming languages supported. I even think Python is supported as well. I know TypeScript and JavaScript for sure. And what the entire thing is, they are stacks, which are very important, and construct even more important. And I think this is the icon of Python, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a .NET, Java, TypeScript, and JavaScript. And yeah, I have to argue now, if you look at this, the Java logo is the nicest, right? As I mean, it looks like it is really nice design. And the other one is like, a student would create a logo, right? So everyone agreed with me with that. So at least, design from the design perspective, Java is the nicest, Luis. You're right? And this is Python logo. Is it? Yes, this is snakes, like a Python. This is Python. Okay, now, what are stacks? Now you are Java developers. This is very easy to understand are layers. So they are the layers. And this is the most important thing, or most important. It's a very convenient to create something with stacks. Why? If you go to the cloud, it's not as easy as you maybe think. What you will have to do is you have to think about, networks, subnets, availability zones, and all the stuff. And what I tend to do is to create, the entire network is the first stack. So I create the network in the first stack. Today, I would just create one stack for time purposes, but the first stack is the network. Why it's so important? Because if you redeploy your applications, you don't have to redeploy everything over and over again. I would just write to redeploy the business logic. So if you would use, for instance, serverless Fargate, which is a great way to run Java applications, I would create the Fargate cluster in the next stack. So the first is VPC, the next one is going to be Fargate. So what I also have, I have a VPN connection to the VPC. So there's another stack with VPN connection. And the last stack would be, the business. And the stacks can interact with each other. And what are stacks are basically Java classes. So, okay. And so now constructs also, this is the last slide. So, and then you will see some code. So the constructs are like, pieces of cloud infrastructure. So you get, for instance, we can have a construct like today, we will use AWS Lambda, we will use ready-to-use construct. But in all my projects so far, what we have, we say, okay, we have one Lambda, and the Lambda comes with, let's say, 256 meg of RAM. And this is the amount of, there's no CPU, but this is the zip file, this is the environment, and this is the naming convention. What you can do then, you can create your own My Company Lambda construct, and then just instantiate it with new, and all the conventions are encoded. Now, the coolest story with Java is, in Java, we have Maven. And with Maven, we can actually very easily share the constructs. So, and this is actually really powerful, because I would say, I usually don't believe in reuse, but this constructs and not the potential for use is huge. And this is actually a true time saver. Because, at the beginning, I created the VPC and the subnets all over again, the siders, the IP addresses, and all the stuff. And then I say, okay, why to do it over and over again? I can do it once and just say, okay, I need another one with this name, this description, this text, and this is one liner, and it works. Luis, what's wrong with the audience? So maybe it is too trivial. Everyone already runs this in Portugal. You know that this could be that what I'm telling you, you are 2 years ahead, and my ideas are just too old for the Portuguese audience, I guess.
Well, it can be, but during the morning, Portuguese people are very shy. From my experience. So
the next time we do it at night.
Yes, it should be better.
It should be better.
Adam, we have here a question. What is reflection and why it is useful in Java?
Oh, reflection is fun and is not useful in the cloud. Okay. And why not? Because modern frameworks try to avoid reflection. For instance, framework like Quarkus or Micronaut, they are the next generation cloud native frameworks, don't use reflection at all, because then what is reflection? It's like you could at runtime invoke methods by string. So Java is type safe. So usually you would go to Java and the compiler, you would call a method, and the compiler will verify whether the method exists. So, and with reflection, you can say, hey, I don't like you, compiler. I would like to be JavaScript. So then I can go, class forename. I can load the class dynamically, then say class get method. Maybe there is a method with the name, Portuguese are shy. So, and then you get a reference to the method back or not. Now it depends, right? And then you can invoke the method. The problem with that is it's very slow. It is the slowest, to my knowledge, this is one of the slowest operations on the JVM. And therefore, all the modern frameworks try to avoid it. Like Micronaut and Quarkus don't use reflection in the cloud. Very good question. Thank you. And another one, Luis, or?
Not yet.
Okay, but hopefully he's happy, she or he. So now the next one, we have constructs, and the AWS CDK ships with ready-to-use constructs. The first level is our CloudFormation constructs. This would be whatever you see in the AWS console. This is the construct. The level 2 are opinionated constructs. It means they are a little bit easier to use. So you can say, I would like to have, a S3 bucket with defaults, and you don't have to write as much code. So these are the very generic, but you have, to create all the, for instance, you will have to create all the IAM roles with this level 1. In level 2, some IAM roles are already created for you, and the level 3 are a ready-to-use pattern. So if you would have more time, I would just create, an ECS Fargate cluster with one liner, and it will create everything for me behind the scenes. And the custom constructs is this what I tend to do in projects, just to reuse the code or to save time. Okay, if you like the workshops, and this was the last slide, so I'm happy because now we can do some work in the IDE. So whatever I showed you is on my GitHub account, and this is github.com Adam Bean. And there are two projects, AWS CDK plane, which I would like to start with, and the other one is AWS Lambda CDK plane, which I will do a little bit, and maybe I will even show you something which I never shown on conference, like API gateway, which is important concept. And Luis, I think we have 50 minutes, right? So this is not a lot of time.
We still have, yes, from 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah, the first one I will call Luis because he's a really great guy. So Luis, and this is the CDK. And it looks like this. So I will just a little bit larger, I guess. So what we have here, there's an exec Maven plugin, which actually ships with the CDK because it invokes the main method. And then we have just these JUnit APIs because you can actually test the entire environment. And we have here AWS CDK and the constructs which ship with AWS. So whatever I show you is ships with AWS, is officially supported. So there's no my inventions, right? So this is what I always focus on standards. So if I go to AWS, I consider AWS a standard and try to use whatever AWS provide me. And Asia the same. And Asia is very similar story as well. So now what we have here, we have CDK. So this is an app and this is AWS CDK, as you can see, with a project AWS Live, environment is workshops, and this is the name of the application. Tags are very important because it is easier to find your stuff, right? So this is, and also for costs, optimizations, so tags are crucial. So before you deploy anything to production, just create a stack. And this is why I created the template. So you can clone the template. So this is actually this. If you clone this repository, you will find that. And I start always with that. Now, and the CDK stack, this is the stack is empty right now. So what I could do is I could go here and say bucket, hopefully. Let's see. Yeah, bucket S3. And then say it's always similar. Builder, create. And the ID is going to be bucket. And the ID has to be unique inside the stack. So it doesn't have to be globally unique inside the stack. And it is other way around. It would be this. This is the scope, and then we need bucket name. I think it is name. We need bucket builder create this. I'm already, it's just too early for me as well. So this is the right Java syntax. And now we're talking bucket name. I knew this is bucket name. And it is PTH Porto Tech Hub Conference and Louis. Hopefully it is available. And then I can say, I would like to have nothing, just build it. So this will be the simplest possible hello world example. And it ships with build and deploy, don't ask. So what it just does, it says, just do it. And as you can see, this is Maven project and CDK deploy. So I will just fire this up and say build and deploy, don't ask. And so it will just, so now it runs the unit tests, which are interesting because what the unit tests are doing, they are actually checking whether the cloud formation is available and was serialized to JSON. And the CDK out is the template. And this is what happened behind the scenes. The cloud formation was generated. And in our case, it is fairly simple. There was just one bucket. This is the generated name and with some tags. So, and if we go to the console, what I see reviewing projects, the stack Louis is about to create. So this is a regular cloud formation stack, but I can go here and see, okay, this is the stack and these are the events involved. So the Louis now is completely created. So we were lucky, the name is still available. And which resources were created, we see this bucket was created. So I can actually switch to here.
Adam, one question. Why do you call it regular? Is there any more chances or hypotheses?
You mean regular bucket, you mean, or yes. Regular flow?
Yes.
I don't know whether I call it regular, but this is the simplest possible bucket. You can just, what I mentioned, regular bucket or regular cloud formation? Cloud formation maybe, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Regular cloud formation is because what's not obvious here, that what happens behind the scenes, our Java code generated actually a regular cloud formation template. And this cloud formation, we would have to write from scratch. And if you search, for instance, for that, AWS S3 bucket, you will find, so we search for that, you will hopefully find the documentation, and it explains how it usually looks like. So you see, this is the JSON syntax, this is the bucket, a lot of properties, and all the properties here become Java methods, and this is the YAML. So you are a Python guy, so they prefer YAMLs, but you can have JSON or YAML, it works. But what we are doing, we are using Java to generate YAML or JSON. So, and this is maybe a little bit boring because I would say, okay, this is not, a huge added value. But what I could do, I have the bucket here in Java, And then I can use another construct, pass the bucket, and use the bucket now as code repository or whatever. So I can actually use all the references here for further processing, right? And this is the power of the construct. So I could create my bucket. I would say for every project needs a bucket with specific naming conventions. So I will use that, encapsulate this as a regular Java class, and push it to Maven and make it reusable. Agreed?
Yes. Adam, Marcelo Souza is asking, are you spending any resource, example, money, every time you run the tests?
Whether I'm spending money, no, my test runs locally, if this is the question.
Yes.
The CloudFormation is pretty cheap because I think the pricing, you get like lots of API invocations for free. Usually it is not an issue. And if you would use, other tools like Terraform, they will still have to interact with the APIs from Amazon. It's not like they are free. You will have to call the cloud in one point of time. But whatever I do locally is completely free. So I don't even need the cloud to test it. So if I go here and say, I go to the tests and say run, this is completely free and completely offline. I don't need the cloud for that. So now I have, I have no syntax errors. The CloudFormation is ready to be shipped or deployed. The only problem I have no idea whether the LUIS exists in the cloud. So this has been no globally unique names. I was lucky so that PTH LUIS is not taken. So now with that, so what could happen? My unit test is successful, but I push it to the cloud and there is no more successful, right? Nice. Very good. So now
we have another question, Adam.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you so much. So João Pinto is asking, what's the benefit to use Java to generate the template instead of writing the template directly?
I think you are way faster, because if you take a look at the template, they are already without the metadata. Okay, so in this particular case, it will be 20 lines of code. But you will see in the next example, there will be like 500 lines of code, and with Java is cheaper. And now it comes. Sharing the templates is not as easy. So we'll use the CloudFormation registry, for instance, but all Java developers I know already are working with Nexus. So what I could do is I could create, if I say here, so the name of the project is AirHex Luis 01. If I do this Maven clean install, so this project will be checked in to my local folder, and Maven clean Maven deploy, I could deploy it to Nexus. Another project could check out the bucket and just use it. Agreed? Now, the greatest feature of that, so I could go here and say to the stack and say destroy, delete. What I didn't show you, drift detection. This is here, drift, detect drift. So what means drift detection? If I go to the bucket and modify something by hand, it will try to find out, who modified the bucket outside the CDK, which is really helpful in larger projects. But one of the greatest features here is CDK destroy. So, and now it will remove everything I created, which is genius, because if you go to the console, click a lot, you forget what you did. And the console also generates a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But now we have to delete Luis. Sorry for that, but yeah. Destroying even, we are destroying the Luis. So this was not smart. So so the Luis is destroyed. So it means it disappears from here. And my S3 bucket is also no more available. So it should be not available. So go here to the bucket.
Adam, taking the opportunity about drift, do you think that Terraform could get us the same kind of features as CloudFormation? Fausto Gamito is asking.
Yes, it could. I think the Cloud Enterprise, Terraform Enterprise Edition could do this. But if you do the regular cloud, if you just check out CloudFormation, it doesn't do that, right? And I would say if you take a look at CloudFormation, and if you take a look at resource scripts, and if you take a look at if we go here and search for CloudFormation S3 bucket, I actually forget the resource name. And not for CloudFormation Terraform. Terraform, you will find that the properties have to be the same, but because at the end of the day, AWS free bucket, exactly. If you take a look at that, at Terraform, you will find that actually you would have to create such a thing, which is very similar to our JSON. So there is not a lot of difference. And people like Terraform because the idea is that they can be multi-cloud, so they could ship something to Azure or AWS, which is entirely not true because the resources are completely different. So they look also different in Azure and on AWS. But now, what I would like to show you more Java. Otherwise, the entire effort of extending the agenda would be pointless. So now, Luis, can I just reuse you once again?
Yes, but first we have another question from Marcelo. You ask for questions, Adam. And
Serverless Luis. I will create a serverless Luis behind the scenes. Okay, now,
so,
Marcelo.
Marcelo is asking, the tests are always checking for formatting issues.
Yes.
Is there such a thing as some kind of mock virtual bucket which I could test operations on locally?
There's a lot available locally. In this example, I'll show you in a second. You can run Lambda locally. I wouldn't advise that because first, the free tier is generous. So what I will advise you to create multiple accounts, and you can go a long way with a free tier on AWS. And I'm a huge fan of testing in production-like environment. And I saw lots of projects which failed. It started even now with Docker and Kubernetes. Everyone tried to replicate the Docker environment to avoid deployment to Kubernetes, and it didn't work because they use root rights and whatever. So I would say just go to AWS. It's good. This is what I'm doing. I'm always testing with the real thing.
Okay, nice. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah. Now, what we have right now is an advanced project, and this is now I show you why Java rocks. And we have here not CDK. This is wrong folder. So if we go to the greetings, this is AWS Lambda. I'll just do this way. Simple as possible AWS Lambda, which is already configured from properties. So we don't need it today. So I will just show you, I will just return this. And the Luis says, hello from clouds. So this is what we get as a return value. And yeah, this is the simplest possible Java Lambda, basically a POJO. Now, what I also can do right now, what I could do is to show you how actually small the Lambda becomes. We don't even need here the two dependencies. So we don't need this. Wait a sec. I will just, maybe we need it later, but now I will just remove that and just do this. Yeah, this was right. And I would like to comment this out. So both, we don't need the core, and this would be just simplest possible Lambda. So this is the Lambda, and the CDK to deploy a Lambda is actually very simple. So if you take a look at that, what we have here, the stack here looks like this. And we are using CDK again with function. So I introduce you with the bucket, and this is function. I say I would like to have Java function with Java 11. This is the function. This is the function handler, which is AWS Lambda greetings boundary greetings on event. So this is the most important thing. If you take a look at the Lambda, AWS Lambda greetings boundary greetings on event. So fully qualified class name plus the method appended. And the configuration means I'm using 128 megs of RAM. This is the simplest, the smallest possible RAM you can add to Lambda. And what it also means, it runs on of less than 1/13 of our CPU. This is how it is. And I reduced the concurrency to 5 just to show you that it is actually working. So reserved concurrency executions are 5. So a timeout is 10 and the memory is 128. And I would like to ship the Lambda here. So, okay, Now ship the Lambda, and then I can answer some more questions, because it takes sometimes 1 minute the very first time. And this is really from scratch. So there's, you see, there was no serverless Louis before the show, for sure. And now the test runs, and we can take a look at the cloud formation as well. So it will be a little bit longer. So if you take a look on that, CDK out, yes, to the changes, and CDK out, and this is the template. So, and this is the template. As you already see, it created a role, Lambda Amazon.com, and you could actually write this JSON. It would be cleaner than this, but you will have still to write it. So the entire thing are already 300 lines of code. And but lots of stuff is not needed, like, you know, the regions here, forget it. So you wouldn't write this if you would write a cloud formation from scratch. Okay, so let's see how it goes in the browser. Louis, questions? Now I need some more questions now. So
now
and
right.
Yeah.
Now is the time. So we have one participant, which is Marcelo. Is his third question already? So he's liking very much your talk. Adam, he asks, any thoughts on AWS CoPilot?
GitHub CoPilot, not AWS CoPilot. Yeah, what CoPilot does, it's, you know, this is like AI scraped the entire GitHub for source code, and you can have code completion with CoPilot. I would say, yeah, you cannot avoid that. So we all know there are lots of talks about AI, and this is not the future. It is already there. This is like, you know, very smart code completion. You can reuse pieces of GitHub code, and we are submitting code to GitHub. So from the law perspective is more interesting, because as companies submitted source code to GitHub, they didn't knew that is going to be used by Copilot right now, right? So this is the only interesting thing. But if you have the chance, use Copilot. Why not? I mean, this is there, and you cannot avoid it. So we already lost, right? But I mean, you don't have to be afraid of Copilot, because we still know, even if Copilot can cover lots of boring CRUD cases, we get more projects with more complicated use cases. So this is how it always was.
So Adam, Marcelo puts again.
No, sorry, AWS CoPilot. So AWS CoPilot is different Copilot as GitHub Copilot. Sorry. So AWS CoPilot is like a container simplification system where you can very easily spin out new containers. We don't use it in production so far, because it's very easy with Quarkus and Docker straight. So it's really easy. If you had more time, I would even show you. So I go to my GitHub channel. I did it several times. So we don't need it. But AWS CoPilot is a nice way to wizard to create containers. I hope I didn't confuse the service, but this is what it is, AWS CoPilot. But now, Louis, you are created, and a serverless version of you. Now, if you go to the Lambda, it is available here. You can see 3K, the entire Lambda in Java. So, and now watch this. I go here, test, and say test the Lambda. And you will see that the first cold start, hello from clouds, was 400 milliseconds, which you can say way too long, but we are in Java land. And now the benefits of Java become obvious. So the first cold start, now let's see, it was invoked in 1.3 milliseconds. The smallest or the shortest billable unit is 1 millisecond. So what it means, if you are reasonable with Java, you don't use reflection a lot, and you don't have a lot of dependencies, Java performance-wise is probably unbeatable. And this is why I use Java a lot in serverless space, to save actually money. And so Java is memory hungry a bit. You see that Java now uses 78 megs of RAM, which is significant. But what you have to know is that on all cloud providers, to my knowledge, the RAM is bound to the CPU. So if the Lambda does something more reasonable, and you would like to have one CPU, you will have to dedicate to this Lambda already 1.8 gigabyte of memory to do this. So it means you will run in production with 1 gig RAM anyway to have more CPU power. And then no one cares about the memory and Java anymore, only raw speed. And the faster the execution, the less you have to pay, because you can see build duration is 2 milliseconds. So if you do again, okay, we cannot be less than 2 milliseconds. But I mean, we could, if you would be 10% faster, we would build for 1 millisecond. But this is already competitive. I would say I did it already on YouTube with JavaScript. And I don't think you can achieve it easily with Python. And also with Python, is a little bit harder to package than Java. Okay, now we have a little bit of time, so I can show you something new. This is what I already showed you on my YouTube channel. But what we can do with that is we can, sorry, this is Louis, the first version. We need Louis, the next version. Where is Louis? Here, no. Where is my, I will close this because this is old. And this looks better. Okay, we have the Lambda here. And what I could do, I could say I would like, and I would like to have a Lambda REST API builder, create this, and then an ID, and let's call it API gateway. And then I would like to have target. Forgot about the yeah, I have to look up the documentation. Go ahead. And this is Lambda API gateway CDK. This is what you have to search for. And this is actually really nice explained. And what we need is, I just make it larger. So this is the official AWS documentation. And what we need is we need the Lambda REST API, and the method is probably handler. So, but this is, the generic. So there are several programming languages supported, even Python. Look at this. And so the method is handler. I forgot the method. I thought this is target, but it happens to be handler. Is it true? Yeah, handler I function. So, and the I function is this. This is already I function. So I could say, okay, go ahead and do this. So, and now you see the true power of the thing is I just pass my function to the API gateway, and I basically get an web app. And I think that's all. Lambda REST API. Yeah. And usually I have to build everything. And this is the common, I don't know, scheme in the entire CDK in Java. Lambda REST API.builder.create. So it's always builder.create, except some smaller constructs, they only have create without the builder. Okay, so this should be enough. So I just skip to there and just rerun everything again. And then you can ask me questions again. So build and deploy. And now what you will see is that the Lambda uses an API gateway. And before we do this, we will need another optimization here to make it real world. I will need both now because the event will change. And yeah, go ahead and do this. So, and if you go here on event, what Lambda ships with is I think it's called proxy event. So, and this is API gateways proxy request and proxy response, hopefully. If not, it will break. But, and I would like to have the proxy request, proxy request, proxy request event. This is what we need, proxy request event. and returned the proxy request response event. Exactly, events. So everything is event driven. So, and I was, thinking about servlets. I'm Java developer. As a search, for proxy request without the event. This is always the case. Okay, so I have the event. With the event, what I already get, let's do this. I can say, give me a message. And the message is event dot get path, and maybe plus method is plus event get HTTP method. So what I get here, if someone invokes the Lambda via HTTP now, I will see the method and let's get, for instance, get and the entire path. So, and what I have to return is the new API. This is a response event. And this is like with, yeah, exactly. And with body, now we are talking hello from serverless Louis, and then with status code something, yeah, 200, of course. So and this basically it. So now this is just a proof of concept, because in real life I would use something different. So I'll show you in a second. But this is the interesting part. So now go back to Lambda functions. Now we have here the greetings function. And as you can already see, there is an API gateway, and the API gateway will call Lambda. So why we need the API gateway for is the API gateway will listen to all HTTP requests, intercept them, and forward them to Lambda. So we got something like very lightweight application server now. And I would like to redeploy again, because now we can take advantage of this modified code. And if there are any questions, please.
Well, there is, Adam.
Very good, because now we need a second. Yeah.
And Felipe Coelho, he's here for the second. So he's curious. Okay, it's not really a question, it's more a comment for you to express your opinion. He's curious on your stand about Java on the current desktop application development scene, especially with newer tools like Flutter that can compile to native and does not depend on the VM. Mm-hmm. He's talking about cross-platform desktop development, of course, he says.
Mm-hmm. Okay, complete different topic, but what we have in Java is called JavaFX. And the JavaFX, long story short, but if you would like to know the entire story, I also have a podcast. And if you search for JavaFX, listen to this. This is episode 126 about this topic. But the long story short is, what JavaFX is, it was took over by a small company. This is called from Mr. Voss. And it's great. And what JavaFX does, it combines this with GraalVM. So you can actually, the entire code base gets translated to a native iOS or Android image. And skip this version. And what happens then is you can submit, your JavaFX code to iOS store or Android store or Windows store, but you get the full power of Java. So you can code in Java. So I would say the shape of Java on desktop is actually great. And I don't know whether you were about to install Flutter. I spent 2 hours of installing Flutter, and it downloaded, I think, I don't know, because in Flutter you need, the entire tooling, whatever. It was like 3 gigs of tooling, which was installed. But then it is nice. Actually, Flutter is nice, but the installation is problematic, I would say. Okay.
Adam?
Yeah.
So we have like more 2 minutes. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure. Look at this. So we have now the API gateway. I think this is the code. And the request goes to Lambda and back. So I could try to test that. And let's try with get and test. And we got the response, hello from serverless Louis. And this was the first invocation. If you do it again, now we got in 23 milliseconds running on 1/13 of the CPU with 128. This is the cheapest configuration you can get. And we got the response, hello from Serverless Luis. Now, in production, we don't do this. There is another missing link, which we can do the next time in Porto Tech Hub. So what happens is, Quarkus, if you search for Quarkus and Lambda, what Quarkus does is smart. What they have additional layer where you can basically ship your JAX or REST applications as Lambda. So there is, you can pick your whitefly application, make it request scoped and ship it as Lambda. And this is actually what I wanted to show you today, but it was not too much time. But we achieved already a lot. Maybe I will record a video screencast and maybe even tomorrow. So if you're interested, watch my YouTube channel tomorrow, and I will try to ship it. But what we already achieved here, we were able to introduce an API gateway with Java CDK, called the Lambda via HTTP, and the Lambda received an API gateway event and returned the event. And yeah, and thank you for the nice questions.
Adam, thank you so much for being with us. It was such a pleasure. Everyone was saying that they really enjoying your talk. I mean, you know that you really have a huge background and you explain very well this subject, even for people that are not very into. So thank you very much for being here with us. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you to being my moderator. It was lots of fun. And the next time you have to check the weather before the show in person, not with weather app, you know.
I will do.
Okay, perfect. See you next time.
See you guys in the next talk in 10 minutes.